What's good? What's good? What's good, sports fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. This is your man Cam on a glorious, nice spring day. I don't know, I'm not sure where you guys are, but it's nice and springy here. At least it'll be this afternoon. It got up to 65 degrees yesterday here in Alabama. Blue skies. Leaves are growing on the trees again. Nice greenery outside, but then it gets a little chilly at night. So again, I'm not sure where you guys are at night or where you guys are watching the show, how the weather's looking out there. But hit us up in the chat. What's the weather like where you are? How you enjoying the show? What you guys up to this weekend? Thank you guys for tuning into the Voice of the Fans podcast. Give yourself a round of applause. On Sundays, if you guys are familiar with the show, we do a full show, about 2.5, 3 hours long during the week, where we give you our numbers game, we give you this week in history segment, and then we end up the show off with the quote. That's kind of the long version of the show. Today on Sundays, this is a Sunday special. What is it? April 7th, 2024. On this segment of the show, we give you just a taste of some sports, kind of relive what happened over the weekend, what you're looking forward to today and through the midweek. So just give you just a taste of some sports so you guys can just wet your palate. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. So give yourself a round of applause for tuning in to the Voice of Fans podcast. Also, give my man a round of applause for tuning in. I know it's a little early there on the West Coast and the coffee's still bubbling. The percolate was percolating a little late this morning, huh?
Not for me. A few technical issues, but here I am.
Well, welcome to the show, Cleveland. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I know Cleveland needs his coffee, fans, because Cleveland has a propensity to duck a lot of my conversations, a lot of the questions I asked. And so, fans, I'm going to ask you guys to do this. Help us out today. In the chat, send us your topics that you want to talk about. So maybe Cleveland won't dunk those topics knowing they're coming from the fans, because he likes to duck my topics. He don't like to give me a straightforward answer. There's a lot of roundabout kind of answer to the question, a lot of wishy-washiness, and maybe he'll be a little bit more straightforward with you guys. So, man, let's try that out. You can hit us up on Twitter @_Voice of the Fans. You can hit us up on the chat, wherever you're watching, hit us up on the chat at Voice of the Fans on YouTube.com. Cleveland, where can they find you?
At Clevey Wonder on Twitter and TikTok. Cleveland Steel on Instagram.
See, he sounds annoyed already, fans. He sounds annoyed already, like he don't really want to answer some questions. But if you guys hit him up with some hard questions, let's make it easy. Yes or no answers, because he's gonna divert anything else you guys ask him. So let's just yes or no questions. Let's see if he can answer those straightforward questions. Because I got a couple straightforward questions for him today that I'm sure if you guys to follow along, that he's gonna try to veer off into some random topics that have nothing to do with the question I asked you. So you guys, if you follow the show, you know what I'm talking about. Cleveland today. Again, thank you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast, April 7th, 2024. Cleveland today, man, we can't help but talk about the national championship, college women's and men's. I don't know what's been more interesting to you. Has it been the women's Final Four or the men's Final Four?
To me, it's still been the men's Final Four. The women's Final Four has had a lot of backstories and some things that have been rather negative, to be perfectly honest. And the men's side has just been like, who's the better team?
Okay, well, we got to jump right into one of those backstories now. I mean, you're right. There's been a few of them out there. We're going to jump into one of them right now. One that kind of caught my attention more than the others, Cleveland, is talking about the NCAA championships and the women's Final Four specifically, is when Gino Auriemma compared Caitlin Clark versus Paige Beckers to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. What's your thoughts on that situation?
Not true. They are not generational game-changing players. there is no comp for Magic versus Larry in the national championship.
I agree with you, Cleavon, and then we can leave the race situation out of it. We can leave the situation where Magic and Bird both got drafted into the NBA, and then they changed the lives of the NBA. We can leave that part of it. What do you think he was referencing when he mentioned that?
I think that he was just talking about two superstars that were transcending the game and were heads and tails above the rest of the college basketball players.
Cleavon, see, we had this discussion weeks ago, and I keep telling you guys that with the way we're able to do our show is kind of unfiltered for the most part. It's unbiased. Well, Cleveland has some bias. I can't be lying if I said it was unbiased. Cleveland clearly has bias, but we attempt to do an unbiased show, and we attempt to do a show that doesn't. We aren't beholden. We definitely aren't beholden to any stakeholders. I mean, our man TPJ over there, Hoops and Brews, likes to swing the hammer every now and then. But we certainly aren't beholden of many stakeholders that are forcing us to have a particular conversation over another conversation. However, when Gino Oriema says Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers, obviously, I guess he's talking. He wants to big up his sport, his women's basketball. But there's zero comparison, as you mentioned, Cleveland, to the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird situation. And I asked you the question on good faith because I have, other than him bigging up his sport, I really don't know what he's talking about, Cleveland. And we had this conversation, you and I, weeks ago, Cleveland. I told you guys last week that we're ahead of the game on many of these conversations. Caitlin Clark is not the best women's basketball player ever. And not coming out of college. She may have the most points, Cleveland, but that doesn't make her the best women's basketball player ever. Shamika Holsclaw, Maya Moore, Candace Parker, Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi, Cheryl Miller, Swoops. I mean,
Brianna Stewart won 4 straight. Yeah.
That's just off the top of my head, not even looking at a list of champions. So, I mean, come on, guys.
Brittany Griner.
Yeah. The most points, great accomplishment. Now I don't want to take anything away from what she's doing. She's out there balling. She's making her team better. We'll see today. She goes up against Paige Beckers. I got UConn. Who you got in that game?
No, we're to the championship, so they're playing South Carolina today.
Oh, well, excuse me. I have South Carolina, USC. Who you
got? We got South Carolina,
and
yeah, they're gonna win this game.
I got South Carolina.
Yeah, they're gonna.
That
win.
Girl Swatkins, that girl Swatkins down there in the low post. I'm not sure who's going to stop her on Iowa, but we'll see. The one black chick that they gave the random drug test to was kind of interesting, but I'm not sure she can contend with Swatkins down there. So we'll see how that plays out. Nonetheless, Cleveland, I asked you, at least it had to be randomly 3 weeks ago. It might have been before the tournament started. Is she the best basketball player ever? Before she eclipsed that record, I'd have to say no to that. The most points doesn't equal the best. And then now I have to ask you, Cleveland, I know you're the one that likes to look at your jewelry and all the jewelry. Sometimes the jewelry matters. Other times the jewelry doesn't matter so much. That's very interesting. Cleveland is big a proponent of coaching. Players make the difference. But then he wants to say coaching in some scenarios. It's kind of funny how that works out. Cleveland, does she have to win a ring to be considered the best ever?
Oh, for sure, without question. But she's not going to win a ring, and even then, I don't really know that she's in the top 10. Like we just said, we just rattled off at least 10 other players, and I don't think that she's done anything to put her in that same category.
Oh well, we're in agreement, fans. We're in agreement on that. And Cleveland, you must have had your coffee this morning because you're thinking correctly. So I do have SC winning this game as well. University of South Carolina winning this game. as well. Today it comes on in a couple hours, I think. So we'll be able to check that out and see what's going down. The men's Final Four. Now I got a good look at both these teams. Purdue. I think I finally watched a full game of Purdue in the last 2 years. Got a full look at Zach Edey and his. I mean, he plays great defense against guys who are 6'5" and under. But I had a good look at what Zach Edey's able to do in leading these Purdue Boilermakers finally to a national championship game. But these UConn Huskies and this Donovan Klingon, I think Donovan's a first round pick. What do you think? Donovan might be a first round pick, top 15.
I think so, Cam. Certainly establishing his presence of authority down there, down low. He gets it done. I like him.
Zach Edey, 24 points a game, 11 and a half rebounds per game, 2 assists, shooting 61.9%. Donovan Klingon, 12 points a game, 7 rebounds, 1 assist at 63%. But he's averaging 3 assists in this tournament. He's giving me 3 blocks a game in this tournament, and he's been a force down there. We've seen cats. I don't know how closely you watched the game yesterday, but cats are getting to the rim and deciding to pass it out when they see big dude down there, deterring them from going shooting layups. Which one of these guys would you rather have? Now you seen your guy Zach Edey. You've been on Zach Edey's bus the last few months, I'd say, but you've been on your guy Zach Edey saying you can't teach 7'4", his jump hook from left over the left shoulder over the right shoulder. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that? I told you last week I thought he's a bench player. He might get 12 minutes a game, but if he can get that right, if he can get that jump hook off in the league. He might have just up to minutes per game. Can Zach Edey get that jump hook off the left shoulder over the right shoulder? Can he get that jump hook off in the league?
I definitely think so, Cam. I mean, I know last night's game was not indicative of what he's really capable of doing. NC State was certainly swiping at the ball, and for whatever reason, especially in the second half, he was putting the ball on the floor too much dribbling, too much bringing the ball down low. That's not what your advantage is. Your advantage is to keep the ball over your head. I think all big men are taught that at a very early age. So I was surprised he wasn't doing more of that. But how his skills translate at the next level, I certainly think a team that needs a low post presence would be well served to draft that dude.
Does he get drafted before Donovan Klingon?
It's hard to say. Not 100% sure. Depends on what your team needs.
Who would you draft first? If you need a big man, a 7-footer, who would you draft first?
I take Zach Edey first.
You take Zach Edey. I'm taking Klingon. I'm not sure you could teach the timing on block. I don't know. And to be honest, fans, I'm not positive this. I'd have to ask some more questions of some NBA scouts and NBA coaches. I don't think you can teach the timing it requires to effectively block shots versus the offensive skill set. I think that's the offensive skill set's a little bit easier to teach. Both of them require timing, technique, and skills. But I think the block shot timing has a bigger impact on the game, and that's a harder thing to teach. Your thoughts on
that? It is a lot of instincts when you're talking about blocking shots. I think again we talked about our guy Hakeem probably being one of the better ones, but that's a quickness at that size you really can't teach, like you're saying. But I think just being a deterrent at that size is sometimes enough. You look at guys like Sean Bradley. He was a pretty good shot blocker, but 7'6". What are you gonna do? So I think Emeka Okafor was a good shot blocker. He had good timing. Alonzo Mourning had good timing on shot blocking. Mutombo. I don't necessarily think he's in that category, but I think that he does have a pretty good instincts with regards to, protecting the rim, and I think that will translate to the next level as well.
And he has some toughness, and a lot of playing defenses want to, and he has shown that he wants to. Like, he enjoys getting there and blocking the shots. He can obviously catch the lob, and he can make a easy land. Edie definitely has the better offensive package for what it's worth. I think he's still slow of foot to be. He's not going to average 24 in the NBA. I'd be surprised if I'd be surprised if he averaged 20 points in a career. I mean, I think that's a high watermark. He's not going to average 24 points in the NBA. The 11 rebounds, he's 7'4". He should be able to get up there and get some rebounds. But I would think, my speculation is it's easier to coach the offensive side of the ball than coach that defensive timing that I've seen from Klingon, and a lot of that's one too. So I'm leaning towards Klingon being the higher draft pick. Who do you have winning this game, though?
I have UConn winning this game.
Easily? You sound like it was not even it's going to be a runaway. The way you answered that question, you said like a 10, 12-point victory.
I'm thinking 10. Yeah.
Wow, that's you turning on your guy Edie?
Not turning on him. I just think UConn is a better team, and I think that the big man for UConn kind of nullifies a lot of what Purdue is going to try to do. And
so you got Klingon shutting down Edie.
I have him neutralizing him, like probably somewhere between 15 and 18 points, probably somewhere between 8 and 10 rebounds. He'll have his blocks, but he won't be the dominant factor that he's been in the games past. He'll finally be playing against someone that's relatively his same size, and I think that'll be a problem for him.
If he does that, if he holds him under 16 points, he vaults into the top 5 of the NBA draft. What year is Klingon? Cleveland, if he does that, Cleveland, he vaults into
what is his actual name? Because now you have me like all confused.
Is Donovan Klingon.
Klingon is a Star Trek character. You've been saying that like 10 times in a row.
It's Klingon. Klingan. Klingon.
Okay.
But yeah, Klingon is close enough for me. Klingon. That's gonna be his nickname. He come in the league. He gonna be a Klingon. In all seriousness, if he's able, well, let me see what year this kid is. If he's able to neutralize,
I believe he's a sophomore, but please double check for me.
He is a sophomore, 7'2", 280. So he probably ain't ready yet. Quite yet. Oh man, he got another year. He got.
If he's so
this would be his back-to-back championship. He might well come out. He might well come out as a junior. What are you staying for? He won 2 back-to-back championships, and this year he's been the defensive stalwart. What else are you doing? I mean, I guess you can go for his 20 points a game, because right now he's at 12. I guess you can develop a low post move. I guess, but you might well get. I don't know. Does he? Star Trek, call him up, Klingon. Call him up. Give him an NIL deal. Let him wear the mask before the pregame. I mean, let him make some money. I'm seriously. What would you suggest a man do if they win this second championship, as you predict? He has 2 championships in college hoops. They win the second. He's been the defensive stalwart this year. Do you suggest he goes back to school, or do you suggest he comes out in the NBA draft?
I suggest he go to the scouts and see what they project his draft status to be, and if it's mid to late first round, then he should come back. I think that's what happened with Zach Edey last year.
Zach Edey had no business coming out. They were failures, and
they lost in the first round. That's a valid point. This would be a player that's won back-to-back national championships, so certainly nothing to prove at that level any longer. There is NIL money now to be considered, so perhaps where he's going to be drafted is not the same or equal to what he can make in college, which is ironic, but
I don't know.
Certainly could be a possibility.
He's not going to the WNBA. I'm not sure the NIL deals is going to be able to pay him, even if he did make a deal with Star Trek and be the Klingon on the court. I'm not sure he can make what he make in the NBA, even as a rookie. But nonetheless, I think he should come out. And again, like you say, go see what the NBA drafts, the NBA pundits have to say. Get a feel for where he'd be drafted. I think he's you say I think he's no less than a mid first rounder right now, as we speak today. Um, if he's able to develop any semblance of a post game, I mean, and he holds Zach Edey to below 20 points in this game, that puts him top 5 Cleveland. I mean, you need a defender. He has the what's the old saying going, defense wins championships. So if he can play that defense, that tenacious defense, and that can get him on the court day one in the NBA. That alone, never mind that his ability to develop his game. I see him. I'd come out. Cleveland, the NBA, the NBA is fantastic. I'm not going to make any arguments against the NBA. You have very little things to argue with Adam Silver and the group that what they do with the league. The one kind of confusing thing is that this isn't the NBA. Well, I guess it is the NBA. It's the Naismith Hall of Fame, but they're Hall of Fame inductees. When they introduce their Hall of Famers, when they have them up in Massachusetts, Springfield, Massachusetts, when they announce them is a weird. The timing is all weird. It's nobody's thinking about the NBA, let alone the NBA Hall of Fame. Why don't they? They made a big production out of the in-season tournament. They make a big production, as we know, in the third season. When the playoffs start, it makes a big production. Um, the All-Star weekend is a big production. Why don't they have a big production for the NBA Hall of Fame? Like maybe the Hall of Fame players should be announced who's in the potential running for the Hall of Fame during the NBA All-Star weekend. And right before the playoffs begin, they announce, okay, these are our NBA Hall of Famers, and then have them come to the finals either right before the finals start or one of those finals. You got a week and a half, a minimum of finals games. You can have them introduce who the potential winners are right before the finals, and then during the week of the finals. I just think, how random is it that they announced their Hall of Famers on April 6th, 2024 on a Saturday? What do you understand what I'm saying? No, what kind of random end of the week, end of the season day do they pick to announce the Hall of Fame inductees? I just think that's so weird. They do a great thing of they make a big production out of a lot of things they do. They do a great thing in televising and publicizing what they do. I just think it's so weird and random when they do their Hall of Fame thing. Like I can't even acknowledge when the Hall of Fame inductees actually go and speak. And I'm like, oh, Gary Payton had his Hall of Fame speech today. Oh, did he? Really? Like it's so random. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you agree with me, or am I just lost in the NBA Hall of Fame inductee concept?
No, in relation to the other major sports, it is a little bit strange how they choose to announce who the Hall of Famers are, and when the Hall of Fame ceremony is a little bit off schedule with regards to kind of how it coincides with anything else major that's going on in the sport at the time. Like for example, in football, it's right before the start of or right after the start of training camp. So you have the Hall of Fame game, and
Hall of Fame game kicks off the season essentially.
Everybody goes to Canton, and you've announced that, and I believe they make their announcement right around Super Bowl time. So it's kind of like when the most eyes are kind of following the NFL. The NBA doesn't follow suit to that. I don't really know what their criteria or what their rationale is for how they roll it out. But I agree that it could be a little bit better with regards to when they do it and the production that they make of it. For whatever reason they choose not to, I don't know.
So, in saying that, they just announced yesterday, let's see how many got about 15 players that they introduced to the Hall of Fame, to the Naismith Hall of Fame, and it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the NBA Hall of Fame, but they have a slew of players that they introduced to this Hall of Fame inductees. People, have you seen this list of Hall of Famers that they have introduced?
All I keep hearing is Vince Carter. He's kind of been the showcase of this particular Hall of Fame class.
Oh, you sound disappointed in that.
Yeah, Jerry West has been inducted for a record third time. That's all I've really actually heard.
You sound pretty disgusted with the Vince Carter introduction piece of this.
I won't say disgusted, Cam.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
The NBA has been pretty consistent with regards to their criteria for people entering the Hall of Fame. There are a lot of players in the NBA Hall of Fame, in the Basketball Hall of Fame, I should say, that if I was voting, probably not. But it's a different criteria. It's you had a really good career and you kind of had a little, a spark, and you kind of contributed something here or there during your career that was good for the game. If this was football or baseball, no way Vince Carter gets in.
Wow, why you taking shots at Vince Carter? I mean, there's a couple other people on this list, well, at least one other on this list that probably shouldn't be inducted to the Hall of Fame, but I'm interested to know. We've had this conversation. I know we had the conversation with the guys at H&B Media about Vince Carter and was he a Hall of Famer? But just to relive that moment, Cleveland, why do you think Vince Carter is not a Hall of Famer?
I don't think that he's ever done anything in his basketball career that is Hall of Fame worthy, other than he played a long time. Tremendous, in-game dunker. Transcended the slam dunk, contest the year he was in it.
That's not enough. That wasn't enough.
I don't think winning a slam dunk contest makes you a Hall of Fame basketball player.
Cleveland going scorch earth on Vince Carter. So we touched on this. I think a month or so ago, right? A month or so ago, in my opinion, and that's what it says. And I'm on NBA.com, and I'm just going to read you the first line of what it says about Vince Carter. Renowned for his high-flying dunks, former North Carolina standout with and an 8-time NBA All-Star in 22 seasons, 1998 to 2020. So, renowned for his high-flying dunks. There you go. He goes into the NBA Hall of Fame just primarily because of his dunks. What would keep him out of the NBA Hall of Fame, in my opinion, is a decision to go to his college graduation versus playing in an NBA playoff game. That right there, like, the only thing that would take that off his mark for me, in my opinion, was actually winning the NBA championship. Because I don't know what it was, why he decided not to play in the playoff game and go to his graduation, which I'm sure if Vince Carter called and made a donation to North Carolina, they would have changed that graduation date quick, fast, in a hurry. However,
to be fair, Cam, he did actually play in the playoff game. It was a game 7. He actually did both the same day.
Okay,
that was the problem.
His PJ got back at the 15 minutes before tip off.
I don't know the actual time that it arrived, but
so he had normal. So he just took off his suit, took off his cap and gown, and ran onto the court. Is that what you're saying?
Stretching and yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, Vince Carter, call North Carolina and say, "Yo, We got a scheduling issue. Let's push this to Sunday and not Saturday afternoon. Here's a donation to the new graduation hall that you guys can build, and let's get this done. Let's move this to the building or grand opening be Sunday, not Saturday. That I think kept him out would have kept him out of my Hall of Fame alone. How do you feel about Mr. Big Shot? You can't call him Big Shot Bob, but how do you feel about Mr. Big Shot getting into the Naismith Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he deserves it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
one championship.
if you're gonna let Vince Carter in with no championships,
okay,
you gotta let Robert Horry in with 7.
No, not Robert Horry, not Chauncey Billups, Mr.
Oh,
Big
Mr. Big Shot. Okay, Chauncey Billups. I'm a
5-time All-Star, 2024 Finals MVP.
I'd like a little bit more on the resume, but that's just
15 and 5.
I'd like a little bit more on the resume.
I don't know. Chauncey, I don't have no problem with Chauncey. I don't dislike Chauncey at all, but they won one championship. And they beat the old injured Lakers. I mean, who were right for the picking that season. It's like they had all kind of internal strife going on. I don't know. I don't Michael Cooper, Walter Davis, Bo Ryan, Cleveland. Who's Bo Ryan? Don't think too hard.
I want to say a coach.
Yeah, he's a coach. He's a Wisconsin coach. His 76% winning percentage at University of Wisconsin. The thing that questioned me is 4 Big Ten championships is
sounds a little light for a Hall of Fame.
Get you in 32 years, 32 seasons. You win 4 Big Ten championships. Not college, not NCAA championships. Big Ten conference championships. Come on, get out. Charles Smith. Okay, in complete honesty, fans, I had to look this up, and I wanted to be sure what I was talking about. So I had to look up because the first Charles Smith that came to my mind was Cleveland. Who's Charles Smith? Did that come to your mind?
The one that played for the Knicks and played for University of Pittsburgh.
And missed the 4 free throws that would have put the Knicks up, I think 3-1 against the Chicago Bulls. Back there, he missed the 4 free throws. I think what was it, a 1-point game? If he not free throws, there were layups. You remember what I'm talking about? Right there, he missed them. He missed them. Got his own rebound.
There was a lid on the rim. Yeah,
a lid on the rim. Like, dude, go up and dunk the ball. Well, how about that? How about you at 6'10", go up and dunk the ball right in this crucial moment? I think they were down 1. If he makes it, that gives them a lead with like 30 seconds to go. It might have been less time than that, but that's the first Charles Smith to come to my mind. So when I see Charles Smith as a Naismith NBA Hall of Famer, I'm like, what is going on? I had to look it up. Charles Smith is actually a high school coach.
Oh, okay.
The Louisiana all-time winningest high school coach. Wins over 1,071 games, 9 state titles. I was like, okay, all right. He knew somebody clearly. Simone Augustus, Dick Barnett, Harley Redden. So I kind of was cool about this. And again, I just, the problem I have with the NBA is how this is rolled out. But they have a women's committee women committee inductee. And so where they draft obviously a women's player. So Simone Augustus gets in. Cornerstone for the Minnesota Lynx, if you guys don't know, where she spent 14 of her 15 seasons. She was a 2011 Finals MVP for the WNBA. And she was a baller. Dick Barnett was a men's veteran committee inductee, old school committee. A women's veteran committee was Harley Redden, I guess that's how you pronounce your name. 431 wins, 66 losses in 18 seasons as Wayland's Baptist women's basketball coach. Okay. Michelle Timms, the Aussie player, the third Aussie player to get inducted to. This is the international committee. So this is just a basketball Hall of Fame. Michelle Timms is an Aussie player, third Aussie player to get in. Contributor committee: Doug Collins. Doug Collins. We know Doug Collins was a coach and a longtime announcer. It's kind of funny how I think Doug Collins gets a lot of love, but Chicago, he lost his job because he couldn't get over the hump, right? He lost his job to Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson first year taking over, they win the championship. Like that should take a little away from what Doug Collins was able to do as a coach, shouldn't it? Like you leave, we bring in some other guy off the bench and he wins a championship immediately. Now,
so Doug's on the 72 Olympic team that got robbed. So he starts there. Okay. And then he goes and he plays with Dr. J and George McGinnis and those guys.
Okay.
And then he was the number 1 pick in the draft. So I'll give him that. Okay. He was not the greatest coach. Well, he was a decent coach with Chicago, but like you're saying, couldn't get him over the hump. And then he went to the broadcasting booth. He was a great broadcaster. Then he came back down again. Coach Mike, his last couple of years, the golden years.
That was Mike just wanted somebody on the sideline that he knew he trusted. There wasn't like
right.
He didn't bring him in because he was the best coach available.
No, yeah, certainly that was a personality thing more than anything. And then he had a few other random stops, and I think it's more for his broadcasting and his Olympic career, to be perfectly honest, than his stint trying to get the Bulls past the Pistons, which just wasn't happening at the time.
Okay, fair enough. Herb Simon, the Pacers' longtime owner, obviously Jerry West. I mean, what is it? This West is the first member of the Naismith Hall of Fame to be inducted, both as a player and a contributor. I mean, what Jerry West has done in the NBA
and an executive, so it's 3 different ways.
Yeah, what Jerry West has done is irrefutable. What he's been to the NBA. I mean, that's a logo for goodness sake. Does Jerry West have a reason to be a little ashamed of his draft class? A little disappointed of his partners? I mean, he would never.
Well, I mean, he probably would be if he hadn't been in there 2 other times. I mean, other than that, I mean,
fair point right
there. Yeah, there clearly are some just super spectacular draft classes. I mean, I think is it the Tim Duncan Kobe one? I mean, there are some incredible classes.
And KG is in that one too. Yeah.
I think the one Mike's in is pretty phenomenal as well. I mean, it just depends, but I mean, it's timing. I mean, it's 5 years after you retire, and some people are, like you say, are inducted from different committees that have a different criteria, and obviously the pool of players that you're selecting from is quite a bit smaller. So yeah, I mean, again, Vince Carter is the headliner of this Hall of Fame class, so that in and of itself tells you all you need to know about
it. Another shot taken at Vince Carter. Woo! Vince, that's not me saying that's my partner, Mr. Cleveland Steele, taking shots today. But yeah, like you say, if he wasn't already in, yes, I might have a little problem with this if I was Jerry West. All right, Cleveland. Now this is where I'm asking for some transparency and some honesty, fans. Let's see if we can get some of that from Mr. Cleveland right now. Do you like the transfer portal, Cleveland?
I don't like the new version of it. I kind of understood it, or I thought it would be utilized differently when it first kind of came to fruition the second time around. Before, I mean, the transfer portal, the consequence or the penalty for doing it is you had to sit out the next season.
Yeah, see that.
So the commitment to doing it was much different. The way it's set up now, you can just leave. If you don't like it, you can just leave. And if you don't like it, you can just leave. I mean, like the lady point guard down there at LSU. What, she's going through her 3rd team?
Right. That I don't like. in comparison to where the coaches can just bounce and go get another paycheck, a bigger paycheck. If somebody offer them more money, they can change job and just go, kind of leave the players in a lurch, and the players had no recourse. Like now they have to stay. And as the example, Kim Mulkey goes somewhere else. Van Leeth had to stay now at LSU. She came to play with Kim Mulkey. Now she has to stay at LSU for another 2 years, right? So I understand it in that respect. I think that should be the loophole, that if the coach leaves or the GM leaves or the AD leaves, if somebody who brought you into to school leaves, you have the opportunity to leave as well. I think that's one caveat that should be added. However, I don't think, and this is kind of a generational thing, Cleveland. We're not going to get into generational politics at all, but I don't think it's a sign. Everything's not going to go right on your job in the first year. There are going to be some things you don't like about your job in the first year. So plain and simple. Any job you get, there are going to be some things you're unhappy with. So if you decide, I'm unhappy here, I'm going to leave here to go get a different job. I mean, the grass isn't always greener, is it?
No.
Van Leeth is finding that out. She left Louisville to come to LSU. Now she's looking for a different school to go to. The grass is not always greener on the other side. That's one thing. And that what this is teaching the youth, I guess, these kids, is that if you don't like your situation, obviously you want to improve your situation. I'm totally against that. If you're getting harassed and mistreated, and your performance not up to par, and you're getting no coaching to something to that effect, and there's reason behind it, yes, you should be able to kind of evolve and improve your situation. But just to bounce because you don't like the situation, I don't care for. I don't think that sends a good signal, not only to the college kids but to the youth. Just change jobs just because you don't like your current situation. I don't like that. If you want to grow, this job is not offering you growth opportunities. I kind of get that, but just the transfer portal as a whole, I think it just sends kind of a bad message. Do you agree or disagree? You two fans, chime in on the chat if you agree or disagree with me. I like to hear some opposing opinions.
No, I agree. It makes them opportunists. It makes them very much into their feelings. I mean, if coaches yell at them and all of a sudden they want to get mad and go somewhere where coach isn't going to yell at me, go somewhere where coach isn't going to make me run as many lines when I miss free throws. You're looking just for the best situation for yourself, and not letting the maturation process play itself out. It's simply, I can get more playing time here. Well, you could always get more playing time, somewhere else. You just have to go to a school that doesn't have as much talent, right? If that's what you're looking for. I mean, let's look at the Kings Sun situation. It didn't go well that for the first year at SC, and he wants to blame the culture at SC. It's like, well, was that what the problem was? Or maybe your expectation of yourself just wasn't realistic, and it was a wake-up call. But is entering the transfer portal the solution to your problems? Are you going to go somewhere else and score 20 a game and all of a sudden be, this showcase player that's ready for the NBA? I don't think so. But the opportunity is there because the transfer portal exists. You see a lot when, quarterbacks, if they recruit some 5-star quarterback, all of a sudden the quarterback that was there the year before, they want to go somewhere else and sling the ball, because they don't want the competition.
They don't want the competition.
And if they get beat out, then there's another year that they're not starting, so they would rather go somewhere else and start.
And I, in that respect, I kind of appreciate the Archie Manning for staying at Texas, because he could have left, because once the Hewers, I think is how you pronounce his name, announced that he's coming back. Like, Archie could have left and went somewhere just on name alone and got another job, starting role somewhere else. And I kind of appreciate the fact that he stayed there. And he's gonna have to compete for a spot. He has to compete for some time, and I kind of appreciate that. Now, obviously, Archie's in a much different situation than many of the college kids. However, he has to want to play. I mean, he's on that University of Texas. He has to want to play football, right? He has to be competing at some point. And but his desire to stay there versus going to Texas Southern or going to Texas El Paso or to a different school where he's going to be the starter, he's going to be the man on campus right away. Kudos to him for sticking that out and waiting for his time to come. Kudos to Archie for doing that. But you led me right to where I wanted to go. And kind of funny when you said the King's son, I wasn't really I didn't know where you was going with that, but that you took me right where I want to go. The at SC, the head coach left and went to SMU. So now he'd have to play with a different coach who doesn't know the family, a different coach who doesn't. Whoever the coach is, I don't know that they've announced a head coach right yet.
It's the coach from Arkansas, Musselman's going out there.
Oh, he's already went there. So does this coach? This coach doesn't know the family. This coach hasn't had the intimate conversations about what their plans are for their son. So that's something that he'd have to figure out. They'd have to have this whole introduction all over again and understand what his plan is for him. So he decides to go and enter the transfer portal. And as you mentioned that Klingon should do is kind of get some feelers from the NBA. Now that's not going to be hard for him to get some feelers. I mean, Rich Paul can make the call today, and by the end of the show, he can have some answers for him about where his standing is in the league. But does he play another college basketball game again?
Yeah. And the irony is everything that you just said, he would have to do if he transferred to a different school anyways, right? And it's not going to be at home. It's not going to be in Southern California. I guess he could transfer to another school in Southern California. I don't know where he's going, but it would be the same process, right? You would be going to a different program with a different coach, with a different landscape, with a different priority with regards to what basketball really means. You would have to, someone could already be there, already be the incumbent. So you would have to beat them out. And if you didn't, would you be pouting and, sulking on the bench about it? Would you be calling your dad like, hey, he's not letting me in the game? I don't know. Is he ready to play NBA basketball next year? Absolutely not.
So fans, Cleveland won't admit to this. I tell you this right now, Cleveland will not admit to this. But he did say a month ago, if Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name was Brandon Jackson, he would be getting zero recognition for the number 1 pick overall in the NFL draft. He did say that. Would you admit to that, Cleveland?
It's not what I said. You're twisting what I said.
What did you say? I'll clarify what you said then, because you did. I'm not sure.
I said he would not be getting as much recognition as he is getting.
Okay.
There's just no way that he would be projected as a potential number 1 pick in the draft as a receiver.
So if Bronny James was named Marvin Jackson, does he get any draft in an NBA draft consideration?
No, and they're reluctant to tell the King the truth already because they don't want to hurt his feelings. That dude is not ready to play NBA basketball.
Well, hold on. This leads to my next question. That leads to, as an NBA GM, would you draft him, or have you already got the call from Jeannie that she's going to be signing him? She might draft him. She might sign him. Anyway, she already has a jersey picked out for him with the Los Angeles Lakers. Did Jeannie make that phone call, or as an NBA GM, would you be interested?
As an NBA GM, if the goal is to improve my basketball team, I have no interest in signing Bronny James.
But if you bring in Bronny, that might bring in the court jester.
Okay, right. But that's the only thing that's the only caveat to it.
I mean, but that's a lure. That's a pretty big lure. I mean, even though he'll be in his 22nd season, I mean, that's a pretty big lure. I mean, just to bring, you can have them for the final days. You can have the first team, like the Seattle had signed King Griffey. They had King Griffey Jr., then they signed King Griffey Sr. I mean, how many teams?
See how that's in reverse, right?
I'm just saying.
It's the other way around. It's the young talent. It's the young superstar.
But they still had the final. They still
it's
had
the
the.
center fielder on the All Century team bringing his dad in. It's not someone that's in their 22nd season trying to bring their young pup up to play on the team with them. That's
But you get that in the NBA. Has there ever been a team to have the father and son on the same team? And we know how prestigious you guys like to have these awards. Like I wonder if a banner is going to go up for having the most play-in tournament wins. I wonder when that banner goes up for having the most play-in tournament wins in NBA history. What does that banner go? Have you got the email or the text from Jeannie on that? Okay, so Jeannie, she's an emotional gal. She might just want to have the father and son on the same team. I mean, because I know.
Okay, so back to this point, and in a different way. Yeah, we'll draft Bronny if that'll make you happy. But he's got to sit down there with Pippen Jr. and those guys and just kind of hang out, absorb the environment. It's not, you're not part of the rotation or anything. Let's not get all upset when he's not getting any minutes. Let's not get all upset when we have an injury and we need an actual player and have to send you down to the G League for a minute. Let's not get all like that about it. But if you just if that's really what makes you happy, LeBron, is your son just, you just want to be able to say that, then yeah, we'll draft him.
Well, he's gonna have to get some run to be the first, father son to get, maybe get.
Oh no, they'll put it in those blowout games for sure. They're up by 20. They'll up by 25 with a minute left. Yeah, Bronny, come on, bounce the ball on the court a little bit. Look at the bright lights.
Bounce the ball on the court. Woo! I can't believe Khalifon taking shots at Jeannie right now.
I'm not taking shots at Jeannie. Jeannie's one of my favorite owners. She keeps it 100.
You guys see how he tried to clean that up?
She keeps it 100. Like, hey man,
you guys see how he tried to clean that
up? Relationship, and this is how it's going. I have Jeannie has always proven to have superstar preferential treatment. Just look at Kobe's last contract.
So you think Jeannie made the call to her colleagues? Don't draft him. Already got a jersey printed out, ready for him.
No.
He's gonna wear number 13.
Nothing like that. No one. The only reason another team would draft him is if they thought that would be the lure to get LeBron to somehow request a trade to that team. And now look how short-sighted you're being. You're giving up major talent to get LeBron, who's not going to play much longer, so that he can play next to someone that's not going to get into the game at all. So that's a that's kind of a losing proposition. The only thing that you're gaining is more fans in the seats.
You get more fans in the seats. You get a sold out seat all season long. You get a sold out home games because you're waiting and anticipating for the first father son to grace the court in the NBA.
Yeah, that's the loser's mentality. For sure.
You don't think there's no team out of the 28 teams in the NBA. There's no team.
I'm sure the Washington Wizards would do that in a heartbeat. I'm sure the Charlotte Hornets would do that in a heartbeat.
Settle down. I mean, settle down now. So I find it interesting. I find this interesting that he's entering the portal and the NBA draft. Obviously, his guy Rich Paul, without being signed, could tell him where he stands. I mean, that again, as I mentioned, in 15 minutes, Rich Paul can have that kind of identified of where the league thinks he's going to stand. But I don't think that has that's not going to have a bearing on him because LeBron's going to say he's my son. He should get drafted by any team, and the league already knows that they want to play together. My question is, just has Jeannie made the phone call? Like that's a call that's a call that should be made. I'd like to know.
Jeannie has made the phone call to LeBron and said that, yeah, we'll draft him if
she gets the biopic. If she gets the biopic this summer.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's part of the agreement. No.
Oh, the biopic's already coming out. They're already in production for that.
I mean, Jeannie is who Jeannie is. Jeannie's been a lot of things. So, I don't think the biopic is necessarily part of the deal, but
You don't think it's the biopic is part of the deal? No, part of
Obviously.
this deal. Part of
No,
Bronny.
the Bronny deal is simply just, hey, if that'll make you happy. With the understanding that he's not going to be a contributor to this at all. And if it's just, if it's really that important to you, sure, man, we'll draft her son.
So they draft him, and there's no pressure on Darvin to put him in the game.
No.
There's no edict from management to Rob Pelinka or Jeannie to say Darvin he has to play 8 minutes a game.
That cannot be part of it.
I mean, you guys. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on Darvin. Darvin gets a lot of blame. He's been getting a lot of blame these last 2 seasons. And I don't know. That has nothing to do with it, though, huh?
No, it's simply because you wanted to be on the same team with you, and at some point there will be a lopsided game, one way or the other, and you two can grace the court together. How touching!
I mean, those are your Lakers, man. This is a story coming from your squad, your purple and gold squad.
Yeah, well, okay.
How they resorted to this. I mean, how what they've resorted to is now looking to have the first father and son play together. This is what they've resorted to. That's your squad. That's your squad. I'm still interested in when you get the date for the biopic. Would you let the fans know? Because I know you're on the text thread. Would you please let the fans know when the biopic is, when they start in production, when it's supposed to drop? Is it going to be on Amazon Prime? Is it going to be on?
It probably will be on Amazon Prime, but I don't want to leak that information just yet. I'll let you know as soon as it's all finalized.
Just let the fans know, Cleveland. I know you have the heads up of when Jeannie's biopic is coming out with Spring Hill Entertainment. Because I know it's coming. Just let us know, fans. Just let the fans know, Cleveland. Fans, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we just wanted to whet your palate with some current topics in the NBA, in the the NBA Hall of Fame inductees in the national championship game. Let us know, fans, in the chat, who you guys got to winning the women's and the men's championship. That's going to be happening. Men's is tomorrow, obviously. The women's is later today on Sunday. Let us know. Hit us up in the chat. You can hit us up on Twitter @_voice of the fans, @_voice of the fans. You can always hit us up. Hit us up with topic suggestions. What do you guys want to talk about? What are some of the hot topics that are on your mind that you like Cleveland and I to answer for you guys? Hit us up on the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. Cleveland, we appreciate you joining the show today. Give yourselves a round of applause. Give Cleveland a round of applause. And give yourself a round of applause. Fans, thank you for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. And as always, Cleveland, thank you for making our voice your choice.